Hello again, this is Gary coming back to you with another build video. Today I'm working on the OMP Plug and Play Edge 540. Gonna open up the box and we'll take a look, see what's inside. As with all the other OMP airplanes that I've put together, this thing came boxed up very nice. Look at how thick that cardboard is. It took a screwdriver, as you can see, to pry open the box. Packed very well. Got our decal set. Stabilizer. Looks like wing bags, fuselage, everything's well taped in there. Cowling, motors down here. Wing tube is in the wing already. So I'm going to take it apart and take some snapshots so that you guys can see what every piece looks like. Hey everybody, Chef Gary back here again with an unboxing of the 60-inch Edge from OMP Hobbies, supplied through Buddy RC. We're going to go ahead and start unwrapping everything, take a look at what it all looks like completely unwrapped, make sure there's no damages, and we'll start the assembly. No wrinkles. Found one little small spot where the covering is loose right here. Nothing that a quick hit with your covering tool won't fix. Smooth. Wheel pants are already installed. Wheels roll smooth. Already has the cuffs to go along the side of the fuselage. Already pre-mounted. Holes are pre-drilled, 2, 4. I'm assuming that in the fuselage there's going to be hard points already mounted right in there. Cowling looks really nice. Air scoop in the front. Looks to be a white spinner. White spinner. Mounting screws for the spinner are inside. It is a carbon fiber spinner. Set that aside. Sunny Sky motor is a 4120 550 kV. I'm already running one of these motors in a different airplane. It's a very strong, great running motor. I've tried it with a variety of props. We're going to start off with the ELO prop, and then we'll see how that performance is. And if I'm not as happy with that, I'll go to the Falcon prop, which I've found is great performance out of this motor. Again, just a packing tube. A little Velcro up here, not sure what that's for. It's got the Sunny Sky 100 amp speed control already mounted, and your leads are already color coordinated, and they are color coordinated with the leads coming off of the motor. Red to red, blue to blue, black would just go to the standard one in the middle. It is zip tied in. Landing gear bolts are already in there, so all I got to do is bolt the landing gear on. then glue the bottom piece in. It's got a nice air cooling chamber here. You can see right through the air cooling chamber into it. It's got Kevlar right behind it. Servos are in the back. This cutout portion so that you can slide your elevator in. It's already cut out for you. It's taped in place. I'm going to leave that piece of tape on there and keep it in there so that way I don't lose anything for the moment. Go ahead and take care of this one. The tail wheel assembly is already on. Linkages are already set. According to everything that I can tell, it looks like the linkages are set up and ready. So when you slide it in, it should be ready to go. Let's take a look on the inside. Okay, canopy's super lightweight. Does have a couple of earth magnets here that are in the middle, along with a spot back here in the back to slide it in. Okay, completely Kevlar reinforced all through the inside. Down on the bottom. It is running the XT90 connector. That will probably change. I fly EC5s, but we'll see how that works out for me. The receiver will go somewhere right in this area. Their extensions are already inside. So let's get into the build. Okay, so we're going to get started with the build now, and so first thing we're going to do is mount the landing gear on the airplane. So it takes a 2.5 millimeter ball driver. And just take these bolts out. Alexa, pause. One of the things I always do is I keep a little container like this right by me. I can just drop my screws down in it when I'm working on things. So again, we have the landing gear. Comes with the skirting already on it. Just going to put it in place. Double check, make sure everything lines up. So I did a test run, made sure they all fit. Before I do anything else, I'm going to pull them out, put a little bit of thread locker on each one. In our package we have the white piece that'll fit right into there. So let's go ahead and get that out. It's already pre-drilled, so it should just fit right in there perfectly, right on top. And it does. I'm going to put a little bit of Sig Bond on it. I'm going to rub it in. Not so that it's going to be on the actual screws, just around it a little bit. What this also does is if for some reason you ever have to take this off, if you've super glued it in there, that super glue is going to adhere here and it's going to make it harder to get it off. So it makes it a little bit easier in the long run. So this next part, there's really no direction on how to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some medium CA. I'm going to go put this down and I'm going to tack it in its first spot right here. And then I'm going to hit it with some accelerator and let that completely set up before I move to the next part. So I already did this side, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn it. Get this back in the camera view for you. And then I'm just going to do the same thing here, holding it tight. Make sure that I get a little bit there. And then again with the accelerator. What I'm trying to do is just hold it so that it makes a seal all the way around. And that's good. So let's do the other side. Again, push it down, hold it tight. And lastly, what I'm going to do is tip it up and do the fronts. Make sure that I have it all the way around. Make sure to wipe off any excess that might run down. Same thing near the back. Make sure that all the parts of it are sealed down. Same thing on this side. And there you have it. Wheel pants are on. Looks good. Now we're going to move to the tail of the airplane and work on installing the stabilizer and rudder. Okay, so we've taken this piece out now. Now we're going to take our stabilizer, and you can see the stabilizer's cut out in here. It's going to require some wood glue, like some Sig Bond or something like that, to go in there. There is a carbon fiber spar across the front. It'll go in here and it snaps in. You'll be able to hear it click when you put it in place. The elevator itself is pretty thick right here, but there's a cutout in the fuselage perfectly for it to fit. If you don't have it snapped in all the way, the elevator will not move, so you'll know that when it's in its right spot. And then, of course, your little spacer piece, again, just some Sig Bond or any kind of white wood glue would be okay. You don't want to use anything that's water soluble, but Sig Bond always works well. So I've already test fitted. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of the Sig Bond in here. Put a little bit on the front. Okay, and then away we go. Make sure that our elevator works fully. Full up elevator, full down elevator. Make sure. One last push in there, make sure that I'm in the right spot. And we let it set. Meanwhile, we'll glue this piece in. Extra glue does not always mean extra strength. Get it lined up where you like it. Get your paper towel and take off any of the excess glue. And we wait about 45 minutes. Okay, so it's been a couple hours. I let the glue completely dry. It's pretty solid in there. I went around and looked at it. I didn't see any kind of area that didn't get completely done. It's good. Elevator works completely. Time to move on to the rudder. For this stage, I'm going to go ahead and flip the airplane over. Showcase real quick. So this has a aluminum alloy landing gear back here. Wheel is already installed. This is a bracket that just slides through an eyelet right here. And that's it. That's done. That part is done. Now, to glue these in, these are not glued in, so you can take them out. We're going to use the same wood glue that we used earlier And then we just plug them straight in, putting the wood glue in both sides. When we do it, we want to make sure that we get this all done, and then we can go with the rudder. So let's go ahead and get that part started. Let's take out all of the hinges. There's 4 of them. And then we just put a little dab on each one. We're going to go ahead and put this side into the airplane. Don't want to get any of the glue on the actual hinge part, so I'm just gluing down here and then letting it spread upwards. And you want to make sure that the hinge is working the direction that the rudder will be working. I'm going to do it a little bit different on this side. I'm going to put the drops of glue into the wood itself. So again, lining up. Lining up that top hinge and lining up this. One thing I am noticing though, if you go all the way full rudder, you go all the way to the full rudder, it's going to be right there. So we've got to be careful that we don't overextend the rudder past. So the rudder, that's going to be the full extent of rudder going that way. It's going to be the full extent of rudder going that way, which is going to be more than enough. So the other thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it on its side. I'm going to just make sure that I got all of the excess glue off, and we're going to let that dry. Meanwhile, while that dries, I'm going to go ahead and hook up my control horn. Go ahead and move the camera a little bit so that you can see the control horn. Control horn will go right here. Now the control horn is set up in the middle. You can actually take it out one more on the side if you want, if you're not getting quite enough throw. I don't have a receiver hooked up just yet, so I'm just going to take a look at it and see what it looks like with the control horn the way that it is. Okay, so I'm just going to take out the screw, make sure I don't lose anything. It's kind got an aircraft lock washer back here, so lock nut, I should say. Okay, just gonna drop that in my little bucket there while I get the airplane ready. Go ahead and run this through. And I've got to put the lock nut back on. This is a 1.5 millimeter Allen head. Okay, good and snug. Elevator works just fine. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and do the rudder. Even though the rudder is in the drying stage, I'm going to go ahead and get it set up as well. So move it around. I'm going to do the same process, take this apart, and go ahead and get it all hooked up. Works pretty smooth. Okay, while I'm waiting on the rudder to dry, I went ahead and hooked up my receiver using a 6-channel Spectrum receiver. I have my battery hooked up. I've already bound everything. First thing I always like to do when I'm messing with a new radio, messing with a new airplane, before I put the motor on it, anything, I go in and I set up a kill switch. So if you're using any kind of modern technology radio, these are built right in. Spectrum is called throttle cut. So go right to throttle cut. I'm going to turn it on. I'm telling it I want it on switch H. I like it when it's pulled back to me, the motor is off. When I flip it forward, which means it's giving the power to the airplane, now the motor can be turned on. So every time when I turn my transmitter on before I plug my radio in, make sure that this switch is in this way, plug the battery in, then the motor won't kickstart and hit me or anything like that. So that's all set up. Next thing I'm going to do is plug in my elevator. I want to just double check that the elevator is working in the right direction, and the elevator is off, so I'm going to have to do some sub trimming. So give it a little bit of up. Yeah, it's going the right direction. Give it down. It's going the right direction. So let's go ahead and go into sub trim and set up the sub trim. So it is good on both sides. Let's check the throw now. Again, we didn't go with the full rates on it. We only went with partial rates on it. So here is down elevator, up elevator. And I'll be putting in some flight controls into that, so that way it's not 100% like that all the time. I'll have dual rates set up so that I can let other people fly the airplane on lower rates, but when I fly on high rates like I like to fly, I'll have about 80% exponential in it, and I'll go through that when I go through that part of the setup. Next thing is to set up the rudder. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in and see if it needs any sub trim. I'm not going to work the rudder right now because I want that glue to really get in there and set well, but same process. Okay, just a quick wiggle to make sure that it's working. Okay, it's working. We'll come back to it, and it looks like it is offset just a touch, so I am going to go into the servo setup, go in and do a sub trim on it. Okay, feel like it's centered there. Those are centered. It seems like we're ready to go with that. So let's go through some of the things that come extra in the package. You have your Velcro that you can put on the back of your battery. Then you put the other piece inside of the airplane. But that's not always strong enough, especially with these heavyweight 6S batteries. So they also send you a battery strap, which you run up underneath, and then it Velcros back on itself, and it helps strap the airplane to the Kevlar itself. It's an extra piece of Velcro to help keep any wires out of the way, anything back in the fuselage if I wanted to do anything like that. Prop nut adapter, that goes on the front of the Sunny Sky motor. All of this will be hidden underneath the spinner. Extra, these are like extra large grommets. These go in the side of the fuselage where your extensions come through, so that your extensions only rub on the rubber instead of rubbing on the wood, causing the wires to get torn open. This one says extra hardware for 60-inch edge, so this is just an extra packet. Looking at this looks like motor bolts, spacers, washers. So I'm going to go ahead and open those up, dump them into my little bucket here, and then we'll start looking at putting the motor on. Okay, so I went through and I looked at it, and there's no way to make the washer that comes with it fit on this side where the motor side is. So I put the washer just on the back side right before the spacer. This airplane does require the spacer to keep it out further from the cowling so that your prop doesn't rub. So I'm going to go ahead and do a test fit, make sure everything's good, then I'll come back and put Loctite on it and screw them all four in. Okay, just real quick, wanted to show the setup in here. Sunny Sky motor, 4120. And then screw, motor mount, then I put the washer, then I put the spacer, tighten them in, all with blue Loctite. Hooked up the wires. I'm going to find a way to attach them backwards a little bit, get them up out of the way of the cowl, and that should be it. One important step is to always calibrate your motor. So you're going to start by turning your radio on, running your throttle all the way up, making sure that your kill switch is on, and then you're going to plug your battery in, and you should hear 2 short beeps. And then you take the throttle back down to low throttle, and you'll hear a couple of more beeps followed by it recognizing the battery. And now it understands the high point and the low point on your transmitter. So I heard the 2 beeps. Bring it down. So I've heard all of the beeps. It's telling me the airplane's ready to go. Let me just check. Just check, make sure it's running the right way. So the motor's running the correct direction. It was already told to us just by plugging in the wires into the right section. This is how I did the wires on the side. Just ran them up, used the Velcro that came with it, tied them into its place. Now it's time to attack the cowl, and in that packaging were these little bitty tiny screws, 1.5 millimeter screws. That's what goes into the here, that run into here, so it's going to be a little difficult. I'm going to go ahead and put those on now. Okay, so the next step is to set up the wings, and I've gone ahead and put my aileron extensions in here, and I have 2 different colored aileron extensions running out so that I know which one plugs into the left side of the wing and which one plugs into the right side of the wing. You can always just use a Y harness if you prefer. The reason I don't is because I like to mix in flap elevator mix, and the only way to do that is if you have your aileron split so that you can run flaperons on it. So that way I can maybe flip the switch and do harder tumbles, or if the airplane's landing really fast, I can maybe dial in a little bit of flap. But I'm going to go ahead and pull the wing out. It came in we got this really nice, beautiful wing bag with it. I went ahead and took the wing and put it inside of here. Wing tube, everything fits down inside very nice. Also has a place right inside for your side force generators. They're all inside. And your wing tube. So I'm going to take just a minute to talk about a couple things. This is your carbon fiber wing tube. It should fit flush in there. Should not be super easy to go back and forth in there. So it fits nice and easy. But this is what I... Okay, so as we start to look at the wing, you can see there's already a wing bolt mounted in here. By the way, this is all rubber mounted right here, so it's not going to give you any friction. We have a metal pin back here. That's your counter rotation, anti-rotation, and your lead coming out. So let's go ahead and put it in. But this is part of this locking system in here. It's really tight, and I'll show you how it works. You slide your wing on the wing tube, run your extension through. It fits right through. You can hear it snap in. And then you actually have to put some muscle on it, and there is a groove in here. You just turn this until it's locked in the groove, and you're done. Easy as that. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my wing set up. Just going to check it, make sure it's working right. So I'm using right aileron, and I'm showing left aileron. Left wing goes up, pushes the left wing down, causing the airplane to turn left. So I need to reverse both ailerons. Now I've got right aileron goes up, left aileron goes down. Same thing this way, left aileron goes up, right aileron goes down. Right, left, right, left. Now for centering, I can see my left aileron is up a little bit there. So I'm going to go back in and go to my sub-trims and sub-trim my left one first. Back to where it's neutral. Then we got to do the same with the right aileron. So they're both at neutral, and I call this neutral here at this intersection. So neutral, neutral. And then my ailerons are set up and ready to go. They work exceptionally fast. Now let's slow them down just a little bit. I use dual rates. So I always like to start off with 3 different rates when I'm learning an airplane. I'm going to start off with 50% rate, 75% rate, 100% rate, and just see what it looks like. And on my 75% rate, I'm going to put 40% expo. And on my 100% rate, I'm going to put 80% expo. So here we are, low rate. See if I can get the camera looking at the wing a little bit better for you. Right aileron, left aileron. Again, that's low rate. We'll go to mid rates, a little bit more, and then high rates. Again, high, middle, low. High, middle, low. Now for flaps. For flaps, you just go down to your flap system. You're going to inhibit it. It's inhibited, so you're going to move it to wherever you want. I like it on my 3-position switch, so I put it on flap B. In position 0, which is the one all the way at the top, I like them to be level. Then I go to flap position number 2. So let's do your flaps. You go to your flap system and you put it on the switch that you like. I like it on a 3-position switch. That way I can have a couple of different things there. So first we're going to start off with it on position 0. We want 0, 0 here. We're going to then go to position 1, and I'm going to want to put some negative flap in it so that the flaps drop down. So right now I'm going to start off by putting it at negative 10 on the flaps, and we drop it in, gives us 10% down flap. And then we're going to go to our 3rd position, and we're going to go ahead and give our 3rd position 10% more than that, so we'll go to 20% and down. Now what that's going to do is it's going to cause the wing to stall a little bit, and then on my first flight I'm going to fly it and see what the airplane does and what generates from the flying, and then I will add in either up or down elevator depending on what the airplane is doing at that point. The last thing I'm going to set up for the wing is I'm going to set up flap elevator mixture. That's so when I'm flying I'm ready to go with that. So on my transmitter, my Spectrum, it's just elevator flap. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to turn it on, and I want it on this switch here. I like it in that position. So when I'm in switch A, I want it on. So that is in the forward position. And when it's here, it's off. Okay, and what I want to do is when I go to full up elevator, I want it to give me some down flap. So as I go up elevator, it's going to give me down flaps, and as I go to down elevator, it gives me up flaps. So first thing we do is we're going to go to down elevator, and we're going to give it up flap. We're going to go to 20%, and then we'll do the same thing, go in the other direction, but we're going to go negative this time. And we'll give that a try, see how it works in the flight, and then we can adjust it to and forward. Now the last part about building this airplane or putting it together is putting these little pieces on. These go on here to make sure that your side force generator doesn't rub up against your aileron. When you put it up against it, right now, it rubs up against it. So OMP has provided you this little piece. You just take your little screws out here on the end. Try not to drop your little washer. So you just take the little screws out here on the end, and then you put it back through, same way that you took it off, and then you can just permanently leave it on here. When you get your side force generator, you slide it in. Push it to the back and tighten it down. And there you have it. Side force generator is easily installed. Hey everyone, I just finished the build, or the kind of install, finishing up of the OMP Hobbies 60-inch Edge. This is the plug and play Edge. Just finished it up. Hope you watched along and enjoyed every bit of it. Got a couple things I need to take care of. Some stickers are coming loose on this side of the wing over here. One piece of monocoat on the bottom is coming loose. And my cowl right here is really tight, so I need to loosen these up and see if I can't move it just a little bit. I'm worried that it might crack right in that area. Otherwise, it balances perfect right where it should, right on the spar. And I'm ready to go out for my very first flight with it. See you on the next build.